to be fair to Teofimo, he also looked bad at 135 before he moved up because he lost to Cambosis
Yes.
Before moving up. And
Yes.
that's why I think it's hilarious that he tagged that the soundbite that we're about to play with. You can keep the black fighters. It ain't the black fighters that got your career off track. That's not how it's going for you.
It's sure ain't. Yes, Ring Kings podcast is back. Man, we did 2 weeks in a row of the show. What is going on? Are we really back? We must be. Tank Davis got us rejuvenated, I guess, man. Hey, it feels good to be doing another episode. Look, as Mikey be saying, man, life be lifing. Mm-hmm. All right. We had some things going on, but we are back on track. We came back, gave you guys a live stream of the Tank Davis fight, our reaction, a fun night. Okay. Expected results. Okay. We gave you guys our instant reaction. We'll get back into that a little bit. We're going to talk about what's next for him and King Rye, right? King Rye being ghosted by his team, and he not feeling that. Okay. We'll discuss that. Teofimo not feeling top rank in the blacks. Oh, we'll discuss that as well. But B, Mikey, how y'all doing?
Great.
All at once.
Great.
It's never good when you have when you say the blacks. It's just not. It's not a great look.
He didn't quite say the blacks, but it wasn't much better. He said the black fighters. Yeah. We'll play that little clip for you guys, so you know we don't take him out of context, because I know he's gonna say he was taken out of context, right? People like Teofimo, man, we'll get into his psyche. And that psyche is an idiot. They just you just gotta let them talk, and they just say exactly what's on their mind. Nobody really. Anytime people like him talk, everybody gets quiet, right? Because they know he's going to say something stupid, and they just let him go. His dad does the same thing. They just say what's on their mind, and they talk, and then when there's a soundbite on them, they're like, "Oh, you took me out of context." Nobody took you out of context. They ask you one question, and you go off about something else, and they just hit the record button, and they'll play the whole thing in its entirety, and you guys will hear it right now. You'll hear, well, not right this second, but you'll hear it in the show. Yeah, man, he has some issues with Top Rank and how he's being promoted. It's all his fault, 100% his fault. He's looked terrible these last couple of fights, and he's trying to blame it on black fighters getting more shine than him. Do better. Okay, that's what it comes down to. But we'll break that down. But first, let's recap. Let's recap last week's fight, man. I mean, we recapped it right afterwards. I think our analysis was pretty spot on. But let's talk about the aftermath. Okay, it's been reported by a reliable sources. Okay, let's pull this one up. Adam Stern. Okay, I don't know who Adam Stern is, but I'm gonna trust him. Okay, now I know who Adam Stern is. He's a writer for Sports Business Journal, and he reported that the fight did 1.2 million units sold, right? Pay-per-view buys. DAZN reporter, I forget his name. I'm sorry, I apologize, but somebody that works for DAZN reported 1.4 million pay-per-view buys. All right. Either way, those are huge numbers for the Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. So, yeah, you guys' reaction, man. What y'all think about that, and what does that mean for Tank and Garcia moving forward? Because Garcia is a big part of that number as well.
Yeah, I think it did better than expected. I think that, like I said, it's a great number, It shows that this was a mega fight for boxing. We've been talking about one of the biggest fights that could be made in boxing. In terms of the fighters, Tank is the face of boxing right now, outside of your Canelo, your Fury, who are kind of on their way out, right? So Tank is the next man up, and he's showing that he's a draw. He sells pay-per-views. He wins his fights. He wins his fights in spectacular fashion, and fans are responding. In terms of Ryan Garcia, I think it's pretty good for him as well. Obviously he has a lot of fans. He took the loss here, but I don't think it was a terrible loss that is going to really damage his career moving forward. I think that he got hit with the body shot and he kind of just went down, but that's happened to a lot of fighters, right? And everybody knows when you get hit with the body in the right or wrong spot, as it were, everything just shuts down, and there's not really anything you can do about it. It's not about toughness. It's not about quitting or anything like that. It's just, you got hit somewhere that your body did not appreciate, and you got to shut it down for a minute. He'll be back. He's only 24. He's still got a huge following. He's still a very talented fighter, and he was exposed to a huge audience with this pay-per-view. So I think things are bright for Ryan Garcia's future as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, huge numbers, man. But this is, as I said on the live stream, man, this is showing, each week following the fight that, this is the blueprint of what can happen when you make these super fights, man. The money is there. Obviously the fan bases are there, or the fans are there to tune in and pay the price. If you put the good product out there, and that's what they did. That's what PBC did. That's what DAZN did. That's what Golden Boy. That's what GTD. That's what the Money Team. That's what they did. They put the product out there, and it's paying off. It's paying dividends. I agree with B. Tank. I think this catapulted him to being the face of boxing. He was already the one of the bigger box office draws already, but this just puts that, and it cemented it. It put an extra layer of coating on it. It did everything possible. It sealed it, everything possible. Right? It's no more arguing that he is the draw of boxing. So kudos to him. I think now going forward, it's just sitting back and finding out who we want to pick off next. There's a lot of suitors out there, but I think he, and shout out to Shakur Stevenson for even saying it and admitting it. Like, man, look, even if me and him fought, he's the A side. I have to respect him as the A side. So, he can now dictate a lot from the side of the table that he's coming from. As far as Ryan Garcia, I don't think this hurts him. He just made a ton of money. And I think, the pure boxing fans, man, is giving him credit for stepping in there and taking the fight, right? Where he was known in the past as somebody who would talk the talk, but then duck out on fights when he had an opportunity for it. So hopefully man, he keeps going forward. I know you want to move up, go back to 140. Hopefully he get in the ring, man, with another solid opponent, man, and have a good showing. And if he does that, then he'll still be in the mix of one of the bigger names in boxing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that this was a win-win situation for Ryan Garcia. I didn't think there's really a scenario where he was going to truly lose. Like, neither one of us or none of us on here thought that Ryan Garcia was going to win the fight. I think a lot of people didn't really think he was going to win the fight. You build up hype, enough hype around somebody, you're going to get people to buy in. I do think I shouldn't say nobody like fan base wise. I think there's a lot of fans that did believe in Garcia, especially the younger fans. I've spoken to a couple, and they follow him on social media and they bought into it. But him taking on an opponent like Tank is going to give him more respect, more props, because the fact that you haven't had other fighters, Haney, Shakur, for whatever reason, I don't think they're dugging him by any means, but the fight hasn't happened. And for Garcia to come out there and say, look, send the contract, I'll sign it. And he signs it, even though he complained afterwards, but he still signed it, took the fight. They made it happen. He gets a lot of props for that. And like I said, the age factor, he can lean on that the same way Canelo did when he lost to Mayweather. Hey, I'm only 24 years old. What was Canelo at the time? 23, right?
He might have even been younger.
Or 22, something like that. He was super young, for sure. But that's all anybody talked about in that fight. Hey, man, he's super young, right? Ryan Garcia can lean on that too. Hey, man, only 24 years old, and he can move up. Shoot, you got Teofimo, we're going to talk about later on, taking on Josh Taylor. He can move up and try to snatch one of those belts. If he does that, Ryan Garcia is back, right? So if he had won the fight, obviously he's superstar, right? And I mean, everything that comes along with that. But even in a loss, his star is still bright. So it's all good for him. For Tank, obviously, he's the guy now. He's the box office. He's got the numbers to show it, right? So yeah,
and unlike a lot of the guys, he has the resume as well.
He has the resume. People are gonna look, Ryan Garcia. People are gonna try to downplay it, right? Saying he's not really that good. Ryan Garcia is a very good boxer. Okay, I don't put him on a level of Devin Haney. I don't put him on a level of Shakur Stevenson. We don't put him on that level, but he's up there, right? He's a step below those guys, but he's a very good fighter. And those other guys haven't really fought anybody on that level, except for Shakur. I'll give him credit for Oscar Valdez, right? But outside of that, their resumes don't really stack up. But even Shakur understands, hey man, I don't have the pull that he has. Like when we go to negotiate, I gotta take what I can get. Devin Haney, I don't think is gonna go into it that same way. I think Haney looks at it and says, I'm the undisputed champion. I should have what he has. I should be selling like he's selling, and I want that respect. But he has an opportunity coming up here. He's fighting a very popular fighter in Lomachenko. And he's going to have his opportunity. I believe it's on pay-per-view, right?
I believe so, yeah, on May 20th.
Yeah, so Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko, May 20th. And if you're in the Devin Haney camp, you instead of sitting here and trying to compare him to Tank, promote this fight. Okay? Devin Haney, promote this fight. Anybody that's team Devin Haney, we like Devin Haney here too. But if you're in that camp, you need to be telling people why this is an exciting fight, why people should be tuning in to watch it, and see if he can do numbers similar to what Tank and Garcia just did. I'm gonna tell you right now, it ain't gonna happen, right? But if they can do around 500,000, that would be really good. That's what I thought Tank and Garcia was gonna do, and I thought that was gonna be great, right? They doubled what I thought they were going to do. If Devin Haney and Lomachenko do around that, I would think that's excellent. Still not on that level, but I think that's pretty good for those two.
They ain't doing that.
No, I don't see it either.
I think there's not going to be very many people at all watching that fight.
Lomachenko has a fan base. I think there'll be some people watching that.
He does, but I don't know that he has a fan base that's going to get them near 500,000 on a pay-per-view.
But I don't think they promoted it nearly as well as Tank and Ryan Garcia promoted this fight. Tank and Ryan Garcia get the lion's share of the props for promoting this. They set up the fight themselves for the most part, right? They had some people working in the background, I understand that, but they're the ones that made it happen, and they really promoted this fight. Because those two, I think, understand how to use social media, Ryan Garcia especially. And you saw them doing the IG lives, talking trash to each other. You see him on that YouTuber or Twitch, YouTube/Twitch streamer, Kai Cenat, who's extremely popular, right? Like they know how to hit that target audience, how to get, build some buzz. And that's exactly why it generated what it generated.
Yeah, he was on with Logan Paul as well. And Logan
Yes.
told him, hey, be careful of the counter. And Ryan laughed it off, and then Ryan got dropped.
Yeah.
2 times.
Yeah. But I don't know if everybody else, the other fighters, have caught on to that, right? Boxing has a way, it's a formula for how they've been doing things for decades / centuries, how they do promotions. But now we're in the digital age, and social media is something that you have to know how to take advantage of. I don't know if Haney and his team have really, I mean, look, I can't say they don't know, because they do hit a lot of these YouTube circuits. At least Bill Haney does. You don't see a lot of Devin Haney. Devin Haney needs to get out there a little bit more, but Bill Haney is definitely out there promoting his guy.
Yeah, and the problem with that is when Devin's out there, he's talking about Gervonta. He's not talking about Lomachenko.
That's what I was about to get to. Like, you need to sell your fights. We did an episode on this a while back. Sell your fights. The Tank fight will happen, man. You don't ever see Tank talking about really going about out at somebody else while he's getting ready for another fight, right? He might respond to what people are saying, but when he's working on a fight, he's talking about that fight. Other fighters need to start doing that same thing. So, but yes, Devin Haney, Lomachenko. B, I know you're going for Lomachenko. You think he's going to win. Me and Mikey think Devin Haney is going to win. We're going to find out in less than a month, man. What are the ramifications for each fighter, if the other one wins?
I don't like the way you characterize that. I'm not going for Lomachenko.
I corrected myself. I said you think he's going to win. Yeah. You think he's going to win? Yeah.
I think he's going to. Honestly, what I think is going to happen is it's going to be a close fight. They're both very skilled fighters. I think that Haney will probably win the fight, but lose a close decision, possibly a split decision. I do think that Loma is a much more popular fighter. I think he's the guy that Aram would probably prefer to have the belts. I know that the media likes Lomachenko a lot more than they like Devin Haney. And I sometimes those kind of influences reach the judges as well. He has that reputation as a master technician. He's got the great footwork, and he's got the downloading, and he teleports around his opponents. And he has a reputation of a guy who you can't really outbox. And I think that'll play into the judges' scorecards there. And if that does happen, and Lomachenko wins those belts, I'm not sure. I imagine they have a rematch clause, but let's just say that he beats Devin Haney and he's the champion moving forward. I think that he gets the brakes beaten off him by Shakur Stevenson at that point.
So you saying if he wins, the next fight for him is Shakur Stevenson?
I mean, like I said, I assume he has the Devin Haney would have a rematch clause. But just like assuming that he got past Devin Haney, let's say he beat him twice. However he did that. The next fight I think would be Shakur Stevenson, because in a rematch, I mean, I don't know. We have to see how the first fight goes. For Devin Haney, I think also Shakur Stevenson is the next logical opponent there. I know that he keeps talking about Gervonta. I don't know that his promotion will be willing to get that done. I think Shakur Stevenson will be the next fight for the champion at 135.
I agree. I agree with B. I think Haney will win. I think Haney, the bigger fighter, I think he'll control the fight that way. I kind of, I think Teofimo, obviously at that weight that they fought, was a bigger puncher, obviously than Haney. Haney, we kind of dub Haney pillow hands, but he was also the bigger fighter in that fight. So it wasn't, he kind of controlled the fight, using his size. I think Haney will try the same thing. I'm not gonna say Haney wins handedly, even though I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I just think Loma I don't think he has it anymore. Last couple fights, man, he just hasn't he hasn't looked all that great to me. But I agree with B. I think the next opponents for whoever wins, I think it's going to be Stevenson, and I think I think whoever it is, I think Stevenson beats either one of them easily.
So
easily.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, B.
Oh, no, I was going to say to Mike's point, there's a question about whether Loma ever had it to begin with.
There you go. There you go.
He's. I'm not going to say he's not a skilled fighter. Obviously, he is. But he's a bit of a media creation.
Absolutely. Listen,
yeah,
Loma's a good fighter, but he was always overhyped. Right. By the time he came on our radar, he already had 2 losses. Right?
No, it was just the
one loss.
And then he had the Teofimo loss.
He had the one early on. People made excuses for that, whatever. And then Teofimo beat him, and he had an excuse for that, but didn't have that many professional fights to begin with for him to be hyped up as much as he has been. And again, resume ain't that great. Like he hasn't really beaten a whole lot of people, but beating Devin Haney gets you a lot of street cred, right? But I just don't see it happening, man. I just don't think I don't think he has anything for Devin Haney. I never thought he was better than Devin Haney. But this is what these are the type of fights that I want to see. This will be a good fight. This will be an entertaining fight. This is one of the some of the top fighters in that division. But I think it's crazy that we're sitting here for as much as Haney's camp has been talking about Tank Davis, we're not really seeing a path for that to be the next fight. And I watch a lot of these other boxing YouTubers. Shout out to them, man. And a lot of people want to see Tank go at Haney next. And right after he beat Ryan Garcia, it was like, oh, he didn't call out. I didn't hear him call out Devin Haney, or he needs to call out Devin Haney. That needs to be the next fight. And when they're asking them now about Devin Haney, he's like, look, he needs to handle his business May 20th, and then we'll see from there. And people are like, oh, no, you got to commit to that. You got to commit to that. Well, I mean, Haney got to commit to it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Like, Tank doesn't have to say anything right now. If Haney ends up winning, you guys believe Shakur Stevenson is the next fight for him. And if that's the case, then I don't want to hear anybody talking about Tank anymore. Right? Like, the fight will happen when it happens. They're all young. First of all these fighters are young. Okay.
Yeah.
But if that's not the very next fight, then you got to look at Devin Haney. All of us here never really believed that Devin Haney was fully in control of who he fights. Right. Yeah. That was always Bob Arum, and Bob Arum does not want his belts being given up. Right. And that's a huge risk, obviously, if you go and fight Tank. Mm-hmm. So, Shakur Stevenson, after that fight, whichever fighter wins, I can see a Tank fight setting up. I don't know if that's going to be the very next one. But if it isn't the next fight, what would be next for Tank?
You know what I really want to see? Honestly, let's say Devin Haney wins, like you guys think he's going to win. I want to see Tank go knock out Lomachenko. I kind of want to. I honestly want to see Lomachenko face all of the young lightweights and take the loss against all of them. Because I don't. It's nothing against Lomachenko himself. I just don't like the way that he was kind of propped up ahead of all of those younger fighters. Yeah. And I just, I'd like to see him get in the ring with all of them and see if it's for real. And I don't think it is.
He wouldn't fight all those guys.
So you kind of feel about Lomachenko. You want to see what you want to see happen to Lomachenko is what I wanted to see happen to Ryan Garcia.
not as visceral a reaction as you had with Ryan, but yeah, I want to see him get in there with Tank, or Stevenson if Haney actually manages to get a Tank fight, get in with those top guys at lightweight and see what you got.
Yeah,
because he's already lost to Teofimo, right? And Teofimo was not the best of the lightweights. So let's see, if he can handle Haney. Let's see if he can handle Stevenson. Let's see if he can handle Tank.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been thinking about this, like, what's next for Tank? Like, I feel like, you know, I feel like the next because of how I feel that the next best guys are already tied up. Like, I feel like most opponents would kind of be a step back for him. You know what I mean? And especially after taking this fight with Garcia. I've seen Pitbull Cruz name out there. Like, I personally don't want to see that. I think he won that fight handily. I just think that people feel like Pitbull survived and gave him a tougher fight than they expected. But I think Tank won that fight easily, right? So I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a Rolly rematch. I've heard that too. So I don't know. Maybe because I don't think we will see Tank versus either Haney or Stevenson for at least a year, if at the earliest. Because to B's point, right now, assuming I'm going to say that Haney, I'm going to say Loma doesn't have a rematch clause, right? If he does, it pushes it back even further. But
yeah,
let's just say Haney has a rematch clause, right? And let's say he wins, right? He skips that. Then he goes to Stevenson. I'm sure both of them are going to want a rematch clause. So you're looking at 2 fights there, right? So, and depending on how those 2 fights go, that can be even more. You know what I mean? So imagine they split or they close. You know what I mean? So I just don't see him in the ring with either of those guys for a good bit. Maybe one name that's coming to mind, maybe Teofimo or Josh Taylor, one of these guys. I think obviously Teofimo is done with ESPN and the blacks. And then, so I can see him moving to PBC and clearing a path for something like that to happen. Maybe, I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I don't know, man. I just don't want Tank to take a fight that'll be looked at as a kind of a step back from where he just came from.
It's a tough situation that he's in because all the people that they're comparing him to are under Top Rank, and he has no real control over that situation. Bob Arum, who just doesn't want to work with Al Heyman or Mayweather, right? It's just gonna make it difficult. I think it's more so on Devin Haney's camp to make it happen. For being honest, right? Mm-hmm. I think they're out there doing the most talking. They're constantly talking. They keep saying that they have control of their situation. They make the fights or whatever. Well, if Haney takes care of business and beats Lomachenko, then it has to be Tank next for him. Okay, he has to say, look, that's the big money fight, especially, looking at these pay-per-view numbers. If these pay-per-view numbers aren't up there, then he needs to say, look, you guys just can't promote a fight that well, right? Like you can't get me. I'm not going to take a Shakur Stevenson fight and it does less than the Lomachenko fight, which didn't do that much, right? I get me Tank so I can, try to beat him, and then hopefully, I grab some more fans that way. And then, whether we do a rematch for even more money, and then I fight Shakur or fight Shakur next, whatever. But the next fight needs to be Tank, and he needs to really force that hand. And he also needs to realize that when he goes to do negotiations with Tank, he is the B side, right? He needs to swallow his pride and say, yeah, I'm the undisputed champion, but I gotta take less to make this fight happen. That's the only way that fight's going to happen, because I'm the less popular fighter here. Okay, that's a sting to the pride, but he has to swallow that and say, okay, whatever it takes to get this fight happen the first time, I'll go out there and beat him, and then the next time I'll be in the driver's seat. That's the mentality he's going to have.
Yeah, and I think the problem with that is he's already had that mentality before, right? He famously at the start of his career went down to Tijuana and fought in Mexico for a lot of his early career. When he got his chance at a championship, because it was supposed to be Lomachenko, but Lomachenko had to drop the belts. He went over to Australia to beat Kambosos, and then he went back to beat him again in the rematch. And I think that's where a lot of the kind of angst or bitterness is coming from. Like, he did all that. He has all of the belts. He's the undisputed champion, and he feels like he's not getting the respect that he should be. And that's why, I mean, we already know he's not in control of who he's going to fight. He was talking about Tank before the second Kambosos fight, and immediately signed to fight Lomachenko, right? Yeah. So I don't know that I see Haney. Obviously they want the Tank fight at some point, but I don't see it happening soon, because I don't think he's going to want to, like you said, swallow the pride and make the fight happen. I think he's in a place where he's saying, no, I'm the man. Like, his dude doesn't have any belts. Like, he beat an IG fighter. Like, I'm the man. I'm the champion. I'm the undisputed king of the division. You have to come to me. Right. But that's not the reality of the situation. So I think it's going to be a difficult fight to put together.
Yeah. Now, Mikey, you mentioned Teofimo Lopez and him having a problem with the blacks. Yes, that is what's been talked about the last couple of days. The soundbite came out of Teofimo Lopez, who was in the lightweight division. He moved up to 140, which is what is that?
It's a light welterweight.
Junior welterweight. Yeah. He moved up, and he just hasn't looked great, right? He just there's no other way to say it. I mean, B, you and I went to his last fight against Sandor Martin, and he didn't look great in that fight. A lot of people questioning that win, if it was a win. He got knocked down the first time. We were wondering if it was a slip or not. Went back and looked at the replay. It was not a slip. He got knocked down. Then he got knocked down again that they didn't call a knockdown. All right, they called that a slip, and he just did not look good. The thing that saved him was Sandor Martin wasn't nearly active enough in the fight. But had he been just a little bit more active, he could have gotten that decisive decision. But Teofimo is sitting here now, still as bad as he's looked. A shot at a title against Josh Taylor. I think he's going to get destroyed. But we will see. He has an opportunity, and he's still sitting here crying about how he's being promoted. But look, listen. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, to be fair to Teofimo, he also looked bad at 135 before he moved up, because he lost to Kambosos.
Yes,
before moving up. And
yes,
that's why I think it's hilarious that he tagged that the soundbite that we're about to play with. You can keep the black fighters. It ain't the black fighters that got your career off track. That's not how it's going for you.
It's sure ain't. But okay, so listen, so just out of fairness, and I don't want anybody saying, I mean, look, I mean, nobody's gonna say we're taking them out of context, but I'm gonna play this whole clip. It's about 55 seconds, so just listen to the whole thing. You got kids in the room or whatever, just cover their ears for a second, because Teofimo has a bit of a potty mouth. All right, here we go.
At the fighters meeting, I dissed Andre Ward and Timothy Brett in front of ESPN production and all of them for all their affiliation and corruption that they do. Yeah. What happened? I put more weight on my back, and all they was talking about right away when I slipped in the first knockdown they called, I slipped. They called it right away. What did Bradley say? He hurt. Mm-hmm. So I don't sugarcoat shit. All these motherfuckers dick ride and they suck dick. Sorry for my language. No. But that is the problem. I don't ride off that. Yeah. And just to even put it more on the spot, this is my last fight on ESPN. Oh. Yeah. Because this is no longer, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. This is why this fight means everything to me. If they want the black fighters, they could keep them. I brought Bud Light to Top Rank.
There you go. If they want the black fighters, they can keep them. I brought Bud Light to Top Rank. Like B said, it's not the black fighters keeping you back. It is, and I'm assuming he's referring to Jared Anderson, Keyshawn Davis, right? Like all the young up and coming fighters that they're promoting. They ain't the problem. Right, because and speaking of, they were on his undercard in New York. I think that's hilarious how those black fighters that he's talking about were the undercard to his fight where he was the main event and he looked ridiculous. But
along with Xander Zayas, and all three of them performed far better. They're more disciplined fighters. They're better fighters. Teofimo, thanks to his dad, right? Let's just be real. His dad has really, I think, messed him up. Really derailed his career. His dad sounds even worse than that, right? I listened to an interview. I wish I would have recorded that one. This guy asked his father a question, and Teofimo's father went on this whole rant about something completely off topic, and the dude was just like, "Yo, I didn't ask you anything about that." Right? That's how these two think, right? And every time they do interviews now, those guys who whatever show he was on or whatever, man, they probably asked him how he was doing, and he just went off on that. They already know. They already know. But to talk about the black fighters, man, first of all, I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. You guys already know my opinion on it, but I have a bigger thought on this whole thing and why he thinks that way. But Mikey, let's start with you, man. Like, what do you think about that?
You know, the whole thing with Teofimo is it's a shame because I still do like Teofimo, right? Yeah. I thought, you know, I think he's uber talented. I think he has a lot of potential, man. But you know, that George Kambosos fight, man, that took a lot out of him. And obviously, it was something before that, you know, that obviously he was going through because, you know, he went into that fight and looked bad. But I mean, I thought that, you know, he looked good against Lomachenko. I thought he was headed to being, you know, one of the faces of that division, man. And so I don't know what happened, man. I agree with you. I think his camp, man, he gotta get his camp together. I know there was some, you know, family issues, and I think he went through a bad divorce and things like that, which could always be, you know, those things could be ugly in themselves. But like, yeah, man, his dad just seems to, and we've all seen how his dad is with him in the corner, you know, lying to him. You know what I mean? Like he's never telling him the real. Like, listen, man, you know, you down, you getting your butt whipped, man. You gotta do this, you gotta change this or whatever. So he seems to be or have been coddled a little bit, you know, through the last couple of years. So it's a shame to see him going through this. It's no secret, I don't think, that his relationship with Top Rank and ESPN has kind of been a little iffy because when he was a free agent not that long ago, and he ended up going back to ESPN for a little bit. But even back then, he had some complaints about ESPN and how things are going. He's wrong when you throw the black fighter thing out there. Like that's where he's wrong at. You know what I mean? And is he specifically talking about Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson? Because I think Top Rank does a horrible job of promoting Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson.
And Shakur, yeah,
right. Who I think are both better fighters than Teofimo. So, I don't know who he's talking about. You know, because I don't see it, and we got a video where Timothy Bradley is hating on Gervonta Davis like none other, right? So I think, you know, Bradley shows that he has that hateration in him too with what we call black fighters or the blacks, as he said, whatever.
Facts, yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's just sad to see, bro, because he has a lot of potential, and it just seems like he's spiraling. I mean, we saw, you know, the fight that y'all attended. You know, they had a hot mic picking him up, asking somebody if he still has it. Now he said he was doing that on purpose, but I don't think so.
No,
I think that, you know, there's something in that camp. There's something within him that's just going on, and he's not getting that attention that he was getting at one time. Man, he's one of the hot prospects. You know, he was, like I said, headed to being that guy, especially after he beat Lomachenko. And that I just think that Kambosos thing really took a lot out of that kid, and he just has not recovered from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, I think he's lost confidence in himself. Like I said, the loss to Kambosos, and after everything that was going on in his personal life, a fight that he didn't really want, but everybody thought that he would walk through Kambosos anyway, and it didn't happen. It ended up being a really tough fight for him. He came out with the L, but okay, whatever. It's one loss, no big deal. I was leaving the division anyway, and then you move up, and you don't show any progression in your skills, right? And he was just following Martin around the ring all night long, trying the same thing over and over and just getting outboxed. And I think that, like you said, when he got caught saying, "Do I still have it?" or something to that effect, it was real, right? He's not sure, and I think he's kind of spiraling a little bit. Just in terms of the whole Top Rank thing, yeah, I mean, a lot of fighters have had problems with Top Rank. Like you said, there's no reason to mention the black fighters and then keeping the black fighters. They've notoriously had issues with black fighters before. That was part of why Bud Crawford left, right? I think he's looking for somebody to blame. He doesn't have that same confidence in himself. I think he needs to get away from his father, kind of settle his personal life and try to rebuild his confidence in himself before he really tries to get his career back on track. But unfortunately, he has that fight coming up at the end of this month, so that could be kind of the end of Teofimo as a star fighter, depending on how that fight goes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, look, when he moved up, he knocked out Pedro Campa. I was like, okay, that was a good one, right? Especially coming off that loss to Kambosos, right? But the Kambosos fight didn't look good. He even complained after the fight, even though, he said he thought he won the fight 10-2, right? Said with a straight face, and then turned right around and said, "This is why I didn't want to take the fight to begin with." Right, because he drained himself to make the weight. He should have just dropped the belts. That's what he said in the ring. Didn't attempt to get the belts back. Just wanted to move up. All right, fine. You start out fine. You beat Campa, and then you fight a game fighter in Santa Martin, and they gave you the win, but you didn't feel good about that because after the fight on a hot mic, like Mikey said, you're asking yourself, damn, do I still got it? You're questioning yourself because you don't feel the same. You're not looking the same. You didn't look like the same guy that beat Lomachenko. You just don't. That guy that got in the ring with Lomachenko was a lot more fluid, a lot more alert. He wasn't just walking you down trying to get the knockout. He went in there and boxed. And we haven't really seen that guy since that night. That's his father's fault. Okay. And whatever's going on in his personal life, I'm sure that, of course, that plays a factor. I get that. But just training wise, boxing wise, your dad is not doing you any favors. And, he needs to get up from under him. That's a big reason for what's going on. His dad is constantly lying to him about how he's doing in the fights. And he's not giving them any real advice out there. Now, to the black fighters comment, listen, we all know what it is with Top Rank. Top Rank has had issues with black fighters in promoting them. I think they still have issues. Bud Crawford just sued them, right? I think the case got thrown out. I'm not sure if he refiled or what, but he was suing them about that. You and I, you guys, myself, we agree that they're not doing a good job with Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. They absolutely would be bigger boxers if they were under PBC, right? But I just don't think that Bob Arum has as much interest in promoting black fighters as he does others, right? That's why we feel like Lomachenko, like they're really pushing for Lomachenko to win this title, right? But I also think Top Rank understands that they have an image problem when it comes to that, which is why they're pushing Jared Anderson, Keyshawn Davis on every fight, which is why, I think, they're trying to push Shakur Stevenson a little bit more to show people, hey, we have some young black fighters. Hey, Ali Walsh, right? Muhammad Ali's grandson. Like they're trying to push him out there. I think they're doing that to show, hey, no, it's all good over here. And I think Teofimo's camp also at the same time understands that, yes, this is what it is with Top Rank. They don't promote black fighters, but I ain't black, right? I don't identify as black, so they're going to push me. But now he's looking at it and he's like, man, they're not really promoting me like I want them to, or like, they used to, or whatever. It must be because of the black fighters. And like you guys said, it ain't the black fighters holding you back, right? It's Kambosos who beat you. It's Sandor Martin who made you look silly. And you have another chance to fight another fighter who I think is going to whoop you. He ain't black either.
Yeah.
Right? So don't look at the blacks as the ones holding you back. Look at the ones that are putting hands on your face.
and this is the thing, right? I'm on Top Rank's website looking at their fighters. They currently have 7 champions. Only one is black. The rest so it's like, and that one guy, I'm sure you can guess, is Devin Haney. And as we said before, I feel like they do a horrible job of promoting Devin Haney as an undisputed champion. Devin Haney just recently got on the ESPN, who is partners with Top Rank, just recently got on their pound for pound list.
Ridiculous.
So like it's, I don't know what he was talking about. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is some of their top guys, Stevenson, Haney, I mean, Keyshawn Davis, they're trying to push him. Jared Anderson, they're pushing him. But their main guys, Tyson Fury and Lomachenko, they still pushing, and they got Better Biev, don't they?
I think so. Yeah, Better Biev is under Top Rank as well.
In a way, is under Top Rank. Like, so like, come on, bro. Come on. Like, I don't know. I think he was just talking. He got hype, and he just sounded really dumb. He thought that was going to sound cool, and then it just came out sounding really, really stupid.
And then the black fighters all turned around like, why am I in it?
Right.
I'm pretty sure. I'm surprised he hasn't come out already and said, man, I was just playing. Right? Oh man, I didn't say that. They took that out of context. Play the whole thing, which we just did, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, Teofimo has himself to blame. And despite all this whining and crying, because that's what it is. He's just whining at the end of the day. He feels like he should get, some sort of respect that he's not getting. He has a chance to get all that by just going out there and beating Josh Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
You have a chance after all, as bad as you looked, right? As much as you looked horrible and your camp has done all the things wrong, you still are in a title fight. So instead of worrying about what Top Rank is doing for you, go out there, win the belt. You want to leave Top Rank? Cool. I mean, I'm assuming you're going to go to Golden Boy after this. I don't think you're going to PBC. Right? Hey, and Golden Boy, let's talk about it. They might have an opening because Ryan Garcia, we didn't talk about that. Ryan Garcia is not happy, fellas, that Golden Boy kind of, the whole crew kind of ghosted him after the Tank Davis fight. All right. So after the fight, visibly not there with them in the press conference were Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins.
And Joe Goosen.
And Joe Goosen.
Trainer, his lead trainer.
They all had different stories as to why they weren't there. That's what made the whole thing worse.
It was an incredible series of events that prevented those guys from making that press conference. But, they had an issue with Ryan Garcia before, when he was trying to drop out of fights, and De La Hoya called him out publicly and saying maybe he's not the fighter I thought he was. Maybe Virgil Ortiz is the guy.
Yeah.
What was Goosen's excuse? I haven't heard his yet.
I forget what it was. I don't know. Like he ate something funny. He's stuck in the bathroom. I don't know what it was.
Goosen checked his mobile banking app, after that fight ended, it was like, yeah, mission accomplished. I'm gone.
Yeah, it's not a good look. I mean, B-Hop was probably the most honest out of them by saying, hey, I didn't want to be a part of the media circus, this and that. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically what he said was, I didn't want to go up there and say something I shouldn't say. Right? Yeah. Correct. That's what happened. You were pissed. You didn't want to be up there and say something like Ryan Garcia quit, because that's kind of the thought process there with a lot of people around the situation, a lot of fighters speaking out against it. Andy Ruiz, Julio Cesar Chavez, a lot of the Mexican fighters are out there kind of saying, man, your boy quit, right? You got to go out there. You got to go out on your shield. And I feel like B-Hop probably felt that way too. I'm sure Oscar probably felt that way as well. They didn't like how it ended.
Which is hilarious because, De La Hoya ended the fight against Bernard Hopkins laying on the ground crying because he got hit in the body.
Facts. And, that they didn't like. And also Mayweather was there at the end to troll them. I think that's what really pissed them off, because, I think they understand that De La Hoya and Mayweather and LB were involved. I think they understood that, right? They work with them behind the scenes. I just don't think they thought it was as good as it looked at the end, right? Tank split up from Mayweather publicly, right? He's doing his own thing, GTD, right? And even though LB and them were involved, I think De La Hoya felt more like he was the lead guy now, right? Because okay, this isn't a Mayweather promotion thing. Okay, this is a Tank thing, but Ryan Garcia is my guy, right? And I'm making this happen. This fight happened because of me. He said that, right? I made this fight happen, and he felt good about how everything was going. And he thought that the relationship was bad. But as soon as Tank or Mayweather gets in the ring with Tank, him and LB at the beginning of the fight, and then is there at the end celebrating with him and laughing at De La Hoya, saying, hi, Oscar, right? I'm not sure you guys saw that video. That set him off, because now he felt like he'd been played, right? So instead of being a professional and just like, hey man, I'll deal with that later, but right now let me stand by my boxer, show him support. They just threw a fit, and all three grown men said, man, let's be out, man. Forget him. Leave him with his parents up there. Mayweather's team showed more love to Ryan Garcia afterwards, right? They were bigging him up, talking with his parents and everything, right? Because, man, listen, we all know what it is, right? Can we just go ahead and say it? Ryan Garcia going over to PBC.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of one of those old seasons of Ultimate Fighter when Rampage Jackson was one of the coaches. And it was him and Rashad Evans. Yes. And, Quentin Jackson was a terrible coach. And he kind of, you got the feeling he didn't want to be there, right? But he was doing a very bad job. And all his fighters were losing. And he would get, really angry, when they lost. And there was one guy who went in there who got knocked out, right? And Rampage went, it's a meme now, it's a gif of him, breaking down the door in the gym. He's punching holes in it and ripping it off the hinges and all that. That's when he left his fighter in the ring knocked out. And Rashad Evans and the rest of his coaching staff had to go in there and kind of comfort the guy and tell him, hey, it's one fight, it's going to be all right, blah, blah, blah. But all of that fighter's people had left. And then, that's kind of what you had here. Ryan's he's probably in a low place right there. That's the biggest fight of his life, and he lost. And he's up there by himself. It's a terrible look for Golden Boy.
Yeah, and it's messed up because all of that talk that Oscar said before, his little prepared speech the night or two before the main event, I just don't feel like Tank's team is behind him, and I don't feel like they believe in him. Yet they have been there every step. And if Tank would have lost, I feel like they would have been there as well. It is a bad look. Oscar, he said he was getting death threats, but why are you at the fight? Like, I'm sure the death threats happened, before the fight, which I think he said that, but you were there to watch the fight. So, why? I feel like being in an open arena versus being in a place that's only allowed to you and media will probably have been the safest place in the arena at that time.
Yeah.
B-Hop said, they wouldn't allow him in because of all of that. It's a bad look. I'm glad to see that Ryan Garcia said what he said in his tweet, that I'm going over and looking at things to see where we end up. But if y'all remember, man, this isn't new between those two. Like, he's had issue with Golden Boy in the past. And I don't know if y'all remember back when, I think it was 2019, 2020 or something like that, his contract was up. I think it was 2020 or 2019 or something, when he was supposed to be on Jaime Munguia undercard. Yep. And he sat out the event. Y'all remember that? He was the co-main. He sat out because he asked Golden Boy for more money to fight. They had changed the opponent at the late minute scratch on his opponent, and he said, I think I should give more money to fight this guy who, whatever. And they said no, and he sat that event out. And their contract disputes, that was pretty ugly between them two. And then, as y'all pointed out, when he said Virgil Ortiz, maybe he's the guy, after Ryan agreed to re-up, like maybe a year later, he was like, man, maybe they should let me go if they don't think I'm a superstar. So, the beef between him and Oscar, it has not always been pretty. And I think this is probably headed towards the end of that situation, man. I just can't see how they can mend that. Even if you aren't there, right? Somebody's got to be there, right? From your team. Somebody's got to be there. So it's no way to sugarcoat it. It's no way to hide it. It's just a bad, like you said, B, it's just a really, really bad look after you sat up there and talked about the other side and how they didn't believe in their fighter. That's exactly what it looked like coming from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at the quote right now. I haven't talked to anyone regarding how I'm going to move forward. I'm taking time to think about a lot of things. I wanted to make that very clear. Right. So he's not happy with how that went down. And I wouldn't be happy either. Like, that's gotta be the last straw. Like, Oscar's taken jabs at him in the past. Him and his family have felt like they've been disrespected by Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya is a very disrespectful person. Right. And he shouldn't be saying a lot of things. A lot of times he's also taking jabs at Canelo, Canelo on his way out. So it's just, he just doesn't know how to, he has very Dana White type tendencies when he throws a fit, which is funny because the two of them hate each other. But yeah, I think this is the last straw for Ryan Garcia, man. Like, saying he had to take time to think about things. Why would you go back to that camp? Right. Okay, you took on a big fight, you fell short. He tried to come back later and fix everything and say, oh yeah, we have all the faith in him and we're gonna work on some things, we're gonna make him champion again. That ship is sailed, man. Ryan Garcia is looking at this like, you didn't even make this fight. You didn't even want me to take this fight. You jumped on board after you saw it was going to happen. But just from the money standpoint, that's why we said there was a win-win situation for Ryan Garcia. He made a lot of money off of this fight. We don't know exact numbers yet, but I think it's estimated for both fighters to be making between 30 million and 60 mil, right? That's a piece, right? Obviously, Tank's going to come away with a little bit more, but I mean, 30 mil for Ryan Garcia, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a huge chunk of money, and really, they can run it back. That's another option we didn't talk about. If nothing happened with Devin Haney, they can run this fight back. Maybe not right away. Maybe Ryan Garcia gets another tune-up fight, gets a win over somebody, and then says, "Okay, let's do it again." That's another big fight. Like they don't need these other guys around them for that. So.
Speaking of which, when we were talking about Ryan Garcia and what's next, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Teofimo. Because I don't know if you guys saw that video that dropped, where Teofimo and his dad was in the car saying that Ryan quit.
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah, he quit and I'll die for this. Yeah, you know, all of that. So I wouldn't mind seeing that scrap. You know, whether Teofimo come off a win or loss, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that would be a good fight for the both of them.
Yeah, what do you think about that one, B?
Yeah, that's why I said the night after the fight when we were talking about what would be next. I thought I'd like to see him move up and fight Teofimo.
Yeah,
I think he would beat Teofimo, especially Teofimo in his current state. But I think that would be a good way for Ryan to bounce back. And then, like as I said, you know, you can always make this Gervonta Davis fight again.
mm-hmm.
If the Arams are gonna, you know, Top Rank is gonna try and freeze Gervonta out, they can run that back and make that again the biggest fight, and maybe do it at 140 this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, then because Ryan had kind of hinted, he said, you know, he wasn't making the excuse, but you know, he was feeling tired or drained because of the hydration clause or the rehydration clause in the contract. So you know, run it back at 140 and do it again, see what happens. You know, and it would be again bigger than anything that Top Rank can make at that weight.
I'll tell you what, man. Devin Haney could really screw himself here if he doesn't get that Tank fight done next, right? Because this is an if, because I don't think Teofimo was going to beat Josh Taylor, to be honest. But if he would have beat Josh Taylor and leave Top Rank at the same time, and then they get a fight done with Ryan Garcia, no, not yet. They get a fight done with Ryan Garcia. The winner of that fights Tank at 140. Let it be Ryan Garcia that wins. Ryan Garcia has the belts at 140, and Tank goes up to 140 for a rematch for the belts. He's never going back down to lightweight, right? Like that's going to be a huge fight.
Mm-hmm.
Tank wins again, and he's holding those belts. He's a box office. Everybody's gonna have to come up to him, right? I mean, it's kind of that way now, but you get him some belts. He's already the biggest draw at a higher weight. Now it's like, bro, there's nothing for me down there. You guys are gonna have to move up. I'm not sure if Shakur will want to move up to 140. Devin could move up. I'm not sure if Shakur can.
I don't think Devin can move up. I mean, he can obviously, but he doesn't have the power of 135. So I don't know. I don't know that he would want to move up.
Powers is not his thing, though, right? Listen, he's a skill fighter. I don't think he needs to worry about his power. He'll naturally get stronger.
He does have to worry about it because it'll be a Chris Bird situation at some point where, you know, Chris Bird was a very talented fighter. He moved up to heavyweight and just did not have the power to keep heavyweights off of him. If you can't back somebody up, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. Like they're going to get to you eventually. Like, you know, he has to be able to hurt people enough. I'm not saying he has to knock people out, but you have to be able to hurt them enough that they're not just going to walk you down and start throwing.
I think he can do that. I don't think
he can do that at 140.
I think he can. I don't think those guys will be too big to where they're just going to just walk through his punches. I mean, yeah, we joke about pill hands, whatever, because he's not knocking people out. I think he's skilled enough and he can throw well-timed punches and hard enough. It's just like with Mayweather, right? Mayweather wasn't knocking people out later in his career, but you know, they said it like, man, it's hard enough to where you just don't want to just go in there and take those punches.
Yeah, but Mayweather was a guy who did have knockout power.
Yes,
Devin Haney is not.
Yeah,
you know, like you see that already, and he already has trouble with the power of the guys at 135. So it's not only, you know, what maybe I can't hurt these guys at 140. You know he can't take those punches.
Right.
And I think that's another thing that is I agree with you, by the way, B. I think that's what would give Tank the edge versus someone like him or Shakur Stevenson. I just don't think they have enough to keep him off of him. But I think that is also what's playing into Teofimo's psyche. Him moving up and his power has not really shown to translate there. I mean, he's put a few guys out, but even that it was Pedro Campa, right? His first fight at 140.
Yeah.
Even that fight, he was giving him everything he had. And like we're at 135, those guys was out of there by then, you know. Yeah. So I think that is playing on to you know, his psyche, man, and yeah, I don't know. I think Haney is over skilled, man, and you're right, Jose. That's not his game. But he's gonna have to, if he's not hurting anybody, and if he ain't, you know, like what he did to Cambosis is just what it would have to look like at 140. Yeah. If he, like, you know, it has to, like, I'm hitting and you can't hit me, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what helped Floyd get by as he got older and he wasn't knocking people out. He was just, but Floyd is like, you know, the creme de la creme. He was just like, you know, he's that guy. I'm hitting you and you're not hitting me. But yeah, it'd have to kind of look like that for Haney with those guys, because if you're not keeping somebody back off of, or keeping them a little reluctant to jump in there off of something you're throwing, it could spell problems for him. And I think that's why it was talks of him moving up to 140 at one point, but I think that's why they kind of backtracking off of that. But we'll see, man. We'll see. It's a lot of options for these guys. A lot of options. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap this up. What are you reading, B?
I'm just looking at the fighters at 140.
Okay.
The next fight is coming up.
Okay. Anything interesting?
I mean, I think a lot of guys at 140 who Devin Haney probably wouldn't want to fight.
Gotcha. You might be right.
It's John Ryder and Canelo next week, right?
Yes, sir.
B, did you get the free from DAZN?
Oh,
I gotta contact DAZN too, because they still have a pending charge for that pay-per-view that I didn't get to watch on DAZN.
Oh wow!
I hate they charged it twice, and one of them dropped off, and the other one is still sitting there. I had to end up going to Showtime because the other methods did not come through, and so it was a very bad experience.
Well, I've seen people posting that DAZN is giving them a free code to watch the Canelo fight for free.
Well, I will,
because they had issue. They had issue log. Same issue you had with the Tank fight. Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'll be getting in touch with them then, because my goodness.
And Mike will be monitoring the other situation.
I'm gonna not have any customer support people when you have a fight like that going.
Right.
I think they had some, but they're being overworked, and they said we can't take any more calls. Like nothing is working. Right?
They were sitting on the bench like that picture of the Popeyes lady when they dropped them sandwiches.
I do wonder though, how does this factor into the pay-per-view buys, right? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people that were ordering from DAZN. I'm not sure how many people actually got to watch it on DAZN. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of pending charges. So once it's all settled, like how much does that affect that number that we saw? Now I saw two different numbers. Like the one that I put up earlier was 1.2 million. There's one reported by DAZN, ironically, that says 1.4 million.
Yeah,
so
it might affect it about 200,000 there.
DAZN is losing all over, man.
They really are.
I don't see them surviving much longer. Right.
I really enjoyed the DAZN as a service when they first started up. Because the whole point was no pay-per-view, you pay a monthly fee, we have a bunch of boxing, and they have some other stuff, not anything I'm particularly interested in, but they got billiards and darts and something called the WNFC. They've got Octagon with a K going on right now. That's live. But you know, they just have a bunch of stuff. But it was a lot of boxing on there. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, remember when we was like pay-per-view is dead? Not no more.
Right.
Long live the king. Give me like 65. And I'm like, what?
Right. I give it to you at a discount rate though.
Yeah.
Like, you put the gold badge DAZN pay-per-view. That doesn't make me want it more.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're not gonna have the Canelo fight on here. Well, Canelo's the reason I signed up to DAZN. So what are we doing?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we're all in unison. Canelo's gonna win that one by knockout, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then after that fight, we're gonna stream live, right? For that fight. After that fight and discuss that. If not, we'll at least give you our post-fight thoughts. We'll give you a video on that. But it's gonna be time to start talking about what's next for Canelo, man. Like, there's a lot of fighters out there that we want to see him fight. And at least here, we've been giving him a little bit of a pass, right? It's time to make him happen. I don't care how anybody feels about Jamal Charlo, or Benavidez. Like, those fights need to start happening, right? He wants to fight Bivol again. Okay, I guess that we gotta see how Bivol feels about that, because a fight with him and Better Biev, I can see for Bivol why Better Biev is a more attractive fight. Right, so we'll see, but no more tune-ups for Canelo. No more. This is it. All right. His excuse credit is almost maxed out. We need him to get back to fighting some of these guys. No more triple G's. I don't want to see triple G part 4.
Well,
okay?
Listen, I gotta disagree, because this is the Floyd syndrome. And we've talked about this before, where at the end of Floyd's career or towards the end, there's a lot of people calling Floyd out. And a lot of fans, well, he's ducking so-and-so, he's ducking this person, he's ducking that person. And Floyd said it himself, there's always a new up-and-coming fighter. You can't fight everybody. And Canelo has gone through a lot of champions. You say no more triple G's, but thanks to your boy Charlo, Triple G was a champion at that weight. At 160. Not he moved up to 168 to fight Canelo, but he's still a champion fighter. So
I just want to push back a little bit, because even at the end, Canelo was still fighting the top guys, right?
Mayweather.
I'm sorry, Mayweather. Yeah. Mayweather was still fighting the top guys towards the end. His last fight, Berto, people didn't like that one, but outside of that,
his last fight was Conor McGregor. So
the last fight was over in Dubai, wasn't it? Like
no, that was an exhibition. His last official fight was Conor McGregor.
What about that kickboxer in Taiwan or whatever?
Exhibition. His last fight was Conor McGregor. He's 50 and 0.
Okay.
But he fought Andre Berto. He fought Conor McGregor. He fought a what we thought at the time was a washed Pacquiao. It turned out he wasn't completely washed. But
Pacquiao, people didn't like the fact that it took so long. But fighting Maidana, fighting Manuel Marquez, fighting Cotto, right? Like yes, those guys were nearing towards the end, but like those were still like hot fighters at the time. Even Shane Mosley, he had a resurgence, and he was kind of riding high at the time. Like, these weren't looked at as guys that were washed, or like nobody wanted to see. People want to see him fight Mosley, because Mosley was hot for a second.
But Canelo's not fighting any washed fighters either. His last fight was Dimitri Bivol. He fought Billy Joe Saunders before that. He fought Caleb Plant before that. I forget who the fight before that was, but these are all championship quality fighters. It's just that Charlo and Benavidez have a lot of fans, and they're very vocal in wanting Canelo to fight those particular guys. He's fighting very good fighters.
They're viewed differently, and look, they're not bumps. Don't get me wrong, they're not bumps. Something's going on my camera here. They're not bumps, but they're viewed differently than those guys that we're talking about. What I'm saying is, the guys that Mayweather fought, those were the guys that people were like, yeah, you should go fight that guy. He was fighting those guys. They didn't like how he was winning those fights, I mean, he fought Maidana twice, right? Like people didn't like the how the first fight went, and Maidana was crying. He said, "All right, I'll give you the smoke again," right? Like he was giving fans what they wanted. They just didn't like the outcome of those fights.
Yeah, and that's one way to do it. But we can't say that Canelo's fighting, taking easier fights. He's not taking easier fights. He's taking fights with guys that the fans aren't calling for. But again, Dimitri Bivol is a much more difficult fight than any of those guys. He's a much bigger, stronger fighter than Benavidez, than Charlo. He moved up to light heavyweight to take that fight. Just a lot of people didn't know who Dimitri Bivol was, and they weren't clamoring for that fight. But I would say that up until very recently, meaning Benavidez's last fight, they hadn't earned a shot. And certainly Charlo hasn't up until this point still.
But okay, that's fine. You could say Bivol is a tougher fight, but then I also don't want to hear the excuse when you lose, right? I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh well, he was a heavier fight or whatever. That's the fight that you chose, my man. Like, go in there and win the fight. If you're going to go out there and take a harder fight like that, I don't want to hear excuses when you take those L's. Just say, hey, the better man won.
There's excuses and there's reasons. Like, you can give reasons that you lost a fight without it being, oh, I'm making excuses, and it's fine. But what I'm saying is we can't be calling out Canelo for who he's fighting when he's taking difficult fights. Now, I mean, this Cinco de Mayo fight's not difficult, but I'm not gonna begrudge him a tune-up on Cinco de Mayo after.
I'm not begrudging him either. I'm just saying this is the last one, though, right? Like, I don't see. He only has a few more fights left.
We're saying last one, but it's the only one. This is the only one that you can look at and be like, oh, this is just a throwaway tune-up fight.
No, Triple G was a throwaway.
Triple G is a champion at 160. We can't say that's a throwaway because people wanted to see. I mean, there were some people, I didn't want to see it again, but there were some people who wanted to see that fight again too. He still holds 2 belts at 160 to this day. Like, he's not a bum. Like I said, if Charlo wants to cry about fighting Canelo, go fight Triple G. You didn't fight Andrade when he was there. You're not fighting Triple G. Yeah.
I can't make any excuses for Jamal. Jamal's another. Trust me, I'm coming around to Jamal, right? His credit is almost maxed out as well. I need you to get in the ring and fight somebody. I can't even remember the last time Jamal Charlo fought anybody. Right? Yeah. He needs to start going out there and earning it. Just like my man Benavidez is out there earning it. Right?
Yeah, Benavidez has an argument to say, hey, you need to come fight me. You're the champion at 168. Come and defend these belts. I mean, he's still in the Cinco de Mayo, but not against John Wright. And I'll say this: I don't have a problem with Canelo saying I want a rematch with Bivol because he lost that fight. He wants to go and try and avenge that loss.
Yeah.
But after a Bivol fight, go and defend your belts at 168 against a real contender.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
But I'm just saying. Like, but here's the thing, though: if he wins a Bivol fight, he's probably not going back down there. For what?
You think he fights Beterbiev after that?
I think he'll try to. I think he'll try to unify those belts and be the undisputed champion of 175. And at that
respect
point,
that.
I'm saying if he goes and he fights Bivol and he beats Bivol, you don't hear anything from David Benavidez.
If he beats Bivol and says, "I want Beterbiev next," I don't listen. I don't want anybody throwing any shade at Canelo after that. But
that was his stated goal when he went up to fight Bivol. He wanted to unify those belts at 175 and be the undisputed at 175 and 168.
And I think you are right about that. I mean, Bivol was slept on at when he first took that fight because nobody knew who he was. Now people know who Bivol is, and they know he's not any slouch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if he goes and beats Bivol and says, "Give me Beterbiev next," we can stop talking about what he's not doing at the other weight classes, right? But then he needs to drop those belts.
I mean, I don't necessarily think he needs to drop them. If he takes let's say he takes a Bivol fight in September, which is what they're kind of the plan had been, and he wins that fight, and then he comes back in February or something, and he fights Beterbiev and he wins that fight. He can drop down and defend the 168 in his next fight, and just keep all of those belts. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do.
It is,
but he can do that. I think it's fair to say, hey, I fought John Ryder. who is ranked, at 168. He's ranked. Let me see if I have it here. I just had it up.
Like 5.
Somewhere around there. Let me hold on. I got it right here. He's ranked 160. He is ranked 4th. He's ranked 4th at 168. He's 32-5. So okay, it's not the best fight. It's not a fight that anybody asked for. But you say, hey, I defended against the number 4. I mean, and these are ESPN's rankings, but obviously he could be up or down in the official ones. But you say, hey, I defended against John Ryder on Cinco de Mayo weekend. That buys you a year. To say, hey, I'm going and I'm trying to unify or become the undisputed at 175. You're not going to get pressed to drop those belts or fight a mandatory within that next year.
Yeah.
Now, if he was just saying, hey, I beat John Ryder, I'm about to take a vacation, that's different. but if you're going and doing something, they give a lot of leeway for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, and yes, those sanctioning bodies, sure, you can work this. I'm just saying, like, in it, fan opinion, like our opinion, that it means ain't we're anybody, but how it's going to be perceived in terms of like what he did down a stretch of his career, why he's still considered one of the top guys, because that's starting to fade, right? He's older. We don't know how many more fights he's going to take. So yeah, man, we want to see him while he's still got some juice left. Go at some of these guys, take on some of these bigger names. Now, and Mikey. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say that. I was just going to say that I think that if he does, what you'll see is much like with Floyd Mayweather, those guys didn't really belong in the ring with him, but you just wanted to see it.
Absolutely. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's I understand. I mean, I'm in that group. I still want to see him fight Jamal Charlo. I want to see him fight Benavidez, because those are the guys that we hold in high regard. And there is that debate. And hey, man, go show it. You know what I'm saying? John Ryder hasn't been in anybody's debate ever, right? So yeah, I don't want to see that fight. Now, Mikey, you've heard us. You've waited there patiently. You heard us go on and on. You heard the debate. Just go ahead and tell us real quick. Who won the debate?
I mean, both of you guys made excellent points. I mean, I was more so leaning towards how you feel, Jose, until B said what he said, right? So he made good points.
Yeah.
I do think Canelo does go through a little bit of what we call the Mayweather syndrome, and there's a lot of Mayweather syndromes, right? There's one that, no matter who you fight, you beat them. Oh, you fought him at the wrong time or whatever. And then there's the one where he just makes it look so easy that, he was never that good anyway, and things like that. So but I do think the fan side of it, because I'll be honest, I didn't want to see the Bivol fight at first, until Bivol did what he did, and then it's like, and I almost don't want to see it again. But I understand Canelo wanting to get his revenge. But I would hate to see Canelo step in with the young guns in that division when it's a little too late, and it's not as competitive as we would want it to be. But I don't know, man. It's an interesting situation for him. I think I could be wrong, but I feel like the last thing I read on this is that Bivol would only accept the fight as if Canelo would fight him at 168, if he let him come, if he would come down to fight him for the belts. So I don't know if that's true, or if I could be misquoting whatever, but I thought that's what I saw. So
right.
It's looking like that situation is going to become one of those things where they can't decide on how they're going to do it, where they're going to do it, when they want to do it, if they want to do it. So if that's going to be off the table, hopefully they find that out quickly, Like, man, we ain't gonna be able to make this fight happen, at least right now. And then Canelo, you know, says, whatever, forget it. I'm moving on. I'll fight Benavidez. I'll fight Charlo. I'll fight one of these guys. But I'm with you on that part, Zay. I would like to, as a fan, I would like to see him in the ring with those guys.
All right. There you have it. I won.
I didn't say that. But you know, he was very convincing that I didn't look at it that way for him.
It's an interesting debate / topic, right? Like, you know, like you said, Canelo, he is a superstar fighter, right? And when you're at that level, this is how you get talked about. You know, he's getting that treatment. You know, go fight this guy, go fight that guy. You're gonna be active. We want to see you fight the best at this point. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what he does after this John Ryder fight, which is by all accounts a tune-up fight. Okay, go out there, get a knockout. You know, feel good about yourself, get your confidence. This is part of boxing. This is part of boxing.
Is he coming off the hand surgery, right? This is his first fight since the hand surgery. Okay.
Yeah. So test the hand. You know, if everything's good, you're feeling good. You know, it's time to get back to work. Go in and, you know, take the BOL fight, be all in on that, and then, you know, we'll see what happens after that. But in the meantime, yes, B is absolutely right. The rest of these guys need to start making fights happen. Now, Benavidez came off a good fight, a good win over Caleb Plant. Now, Jamal, man, I don't want to hear any more talking. I don't want to hear any more talking. Go and make a fight happen. Fight somebody.
Jamal been sitting in the corner for like 3 years throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah, I don't want to hear any more from Jamal Charlo, yo. All those Jamal Charlo fans out there that are really clamoring for him to fight Canelo, even they're getting quiet about it. I was one of them. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them. But yeah, that crowd is getting quieter and quieter because you have not seen your man fight. It feels like for years. I can't. What was his last fight?
He fought recently, but it was against nobody. Hold on.
No, he was supposed to.
Yeah, I think they eventually did it. I know it got postponed.
I don't think he did the fight.
Hold on, let me
that's the one where Harrison stepped in. No.
That's Jamel.
That's Jamel. Yeah.
Jamel.
Hold up. This was his last fight was. Oh damn! No, never mind.
See,
Juan Macias Montiel 2021.
See?
Wow.
I guess they never rescheduled that other fight.
Yeah, Jamal, I don't want to hear any more talking from you, man. All right, you're still my boy, but you need to go out there and put hands on somebody. Get your name back in the mix.
That's the benefits of having a twin, though, right? I thought he had fought much more recently.
Andre too, right? Andre moved up in weight. He switched promotions. You know, start making some moves. No more talking from you guys. Go out there and take some fights. Get your name thrown in the hat. All right. Okay. Let's wrap it up there. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
This song is garbage, yeah.
Well said. Well said.
I'm looking over here and typing because I'm talking to DAZN support right now, and I was like, I got charged twice. You refunded one, but you didn't refund the other, and I didn't get to watch it on DAZN anyway. I had to go to Showtime, had to pay more to watch that fight. And they're like, oh, yeah, let me get the email on the account. I give them the email. Like, yeah, let me look into this. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll get back to you in 72 hours.
72 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's Easy Street on East Street.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna get all that worked out this week, so we don't have those issues next week for Canelo. I have a feeling it's not going to be as big of a problem because not as many people are going to be looking for that fight. But we're gonna make sure it's smooth sailing for next week, and we'll give you our thoughts.
I mean, I'm defending Canelo, but I might be skipping that one to watch Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo. So,
yeah, we'll see. We can handle both. We'll take a look at both. But all right, look, it's been a while, but we're getting back in motion now. So this is our first recorded podcast in a while. All right, so we're giving you a little extra time here. Appreciate you guys that are hanging out with us. Wherever you're watching or listening, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, and if you're new, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this, the audio portion, make sure you give us a 5-star review or a star or like wherever you're listening to it. Different platforms have different ways to engage. But yeah, we appreciate you. Keep supporting, keep following us. Right above me where you see where you can follow us at Ring Kings Pod, and also our patreon.com/LBHTShow. There are a bunch of different tiers. Go check them out and see which one is right for you. I must say though, the $3 tier is going away rapidly, so it might be gone even before you listen to this. But if it's still there, you're gonna want to get on that as soon as possible. It's gonna go up to $5 here pretty soon. All right, but that's it. B, are you ready?
Yeah, man.
He's still fighting with the zone over there. B is ready.
Ridiculous.
Hey, thank you guys so much.
I was like 72 hours. I'm like, yeah, I hope that works. I mean, I guess.
If you say no, then what?
Yeah. Then 72 hours. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, everybody, except the zone. We will see you next time. Peace.